Hello, this is Breakfast with Louise Minchin and Charlie State.
It's 6:30 exactly. We'll bring you all the latest news and sport in a moment. Also on the programme this morning, after Scotland announced major new COVID restrictions yesterday, we'll be asking if pubs and restaurants in parts of northern England could be the next to close.
Good morning, BBC Breakfast, and welcome on board this final British Airways 747 flight from London Heathrow.
So it's over and out for the first jumbo jets this morning. We'll be live in Heathrow as British Airways retires its last two Boeing 747s.
Later on this morning, British Airways will fly its final two Boeing 747s from London Heathrow into retirement to two airfields in South Wales and Gloucestershire.
The reduction in international travel because of the pandemic caused the airline to pull the planes from service 4 years earlier than scheduled. Our transport correspondent, Tom Burridge, is at Heathrow for us this morning. Morning to you, Tom.
Morning, guys. I'm pretty tall, but look at the size of these wheels. 18 of them on this aircraft. There's a real buzz airside here at Heathrow this morning. This colossus of a plane, take a look at it, is going to depart from Heathrow off the tarmac for one final time out of the British Airways fleet. This one and another one parked nearby. The tail of that plane is level with a 6-storey building. It's been in the BA fleet for decades. It really changed the way people travel all over the globe, and it's been around for a very, very long time.
A queen of the skies. The uniforms and the food changed.
The cabin has been fine-tuned for passenger comfort and service efficiency.
But the 747 was a glamour glider for decades.
It's big, but by no means slow.
Full, it could weigh 400 tons. The original was made in 1969.
Man, how are they ever going to get that thing in the air?
BA once flew 57 of them. Now their last two are leaving Heathrow.
In here is the bunks where we can get rest if we've got more than two crew, and then into the...
Captain Al will pilot this one into retirement. The 747's departure from the fleet is earlier than planned because of the pandemic.
The first thing you notice is you look out the window and you're looking down on people, which is really weird compared to any other aircraft you've flown. It's almost sad when a beautiful aircraft can still fly, but it's off to its final resting place. It'll be an emotional moment lifting off for that last time.
Good morning, BBC Breakfast, and welcome on board this final British Airways 747 flight from London Heathrow.
Julie welcomed A-listers and royalty on board.
No need to go to a gym either. You become very attached to a huge chunk of metal that takes you around the world, that's glamorous, it's, iconic, and you do actually fall in love.
The stretched upper deck is new to BA.
In its day, the double deck was novel.
It's like a private jet up here.
It's still pretty cool today.
I know somebody whose grandma boarded a 747 and thought she was still in the departure lounge because it was just so big. She didn't realise, and she kept saying, "When are we boarding?"
71 metres from the front to a place passengers didn't see near the tail.
At the back of the plane, up a flight of stairs, is where on those long-haul flights the crew can get a bit of well-earned rest. In seat 1A, you are further forward than the pilots. The cockpit's up there. But the amazing views out the window didn't come cheap here in first class. It's incredible to think that the Boeing 747 has been with us for around half a century. Suddenly, you could carry around 400 people from Heathrow to JFK, New York, in about 6 hours. It was a wow moment, and it changed the way we travel.
Millions of miles, millions of jumbo jet memories. This morning it's over and out for the BA 747 era.
Well, sitting in that very privileged position right up there in the cockpit this morning will be Captain Al Bridger, the man who's going to guide this plane out of Heathrow for one last time. Al, I'm delighted to talk to you this morning before this historic trip. It's going to be an emotional one when you pull up for that last time.
Oh, it's an incredibly emotional day. You know, it's mixed feelings. This has been part of all of our lives at British Airways for 50 years. I mean, it's an incredible piece of history. So it's an emotional day. It's sad in a way, but very, very proud to have been flying this aircraft.
Why do you think people have such an affinity, such a bond with this particular aircraft?
I think everyone knows the Jumbo. You know, it was born out of the moon landing age 50 years ago, and it's been with us ever since. You can recognise it. You just see it when you get to the airport. It stands out. It's iconic, and customers, colleagues, everyone who's had anything to do with the Jumbo, they just love it.
What did people love when they used to get on board?
I think it's just the whole thing. It's a part of Britain that's just with you. You get to the airport, you see the tail, you see British Airways. It's a part of Britain. You step on board and you feel like you're home. Everyone says that. You know, we get on board. This is a part of Britain around the world.
And what is your fondest memory? I guess you've got so many. Anything you could pick out for us?
I have memories from years. This beautiful airplane's taken me all around the world. It's been an absolute privilege. I've flown into the old Hong Kong airport. I've flown out of San Francisco looking down at the Golden Gate Bridge into Cape Town with the sun coming up over Table Mountain. It's beautiful, and we're going to so miss her.
Everyone talks about the BA family. I mean, you're a giant company. What's going to be the feeling amongst all your colleagues as you glide out? You get one of the planes, there's two planes going to do that last trip, and one of them's going to glide potentially over the airfield one last time just afterwards.
Exactly that. I mean, it's been an incredible year. It's been difficult for us, but everybody who's anything to do with the 747 just loves it. I've spoken to engineers, to different colleagues, and they've all said there'll be a tear in their eye, but we're going to come back through and we're going to fly through the airport. One last goodbye and a thank you to everybody for everything they've done for us.
Okay, talk us through that last trip. You're going to basically push back from here at about 7:40 this morning. Then you're going to head off that way towards the airfield.
Exactly, yeah. So we're going to push us back. They're going to take us over there. We have a little bit of time. We're going to start the engines about 8:15, and then from there it's about a 20-minute taxi. We're hoping, if the weather holds up, that we could both get airborne together, which would be a magnificent moment, but we're not sure. The forecast isn't fantastic, but hopefully we can get airborne together, and then we'll come back round and say that final goodbye. If the weather drops a bit, then we'll take off one after the other, which will still look fantastic because you'll see both the aircraft together.
And you're heading into South Wales, the other plane heading off to Kemble in Gloucestershire.
Correct.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Great stuff. We're looking forward to it. Enjoy the trip. It's going to be quite a short one for your standards. You're used to sort of 10, 15 hours normally on these type of planes, but it's going to be absolutely fantastic. It's a real buzz on the airfield here. Lots of people from BA have come down to witness this. Lots of people are going to be tuning in to us in a couple of hours' time, just under that, because we're going to bring you that historic moment here on Breakfast.
I love the way he described it as a magnificent moment. We will try, as we say, depending on the weather, etc. But if it happens,
it is, Louise.
it'll happen.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. Are you guys playing geeks? Because if you're not after this morning, then I failed.
Honestly, your excitement is palpable. Thank you, and yes, I love it.
It's so true.
Look at it.
There we go. Just look at it. It's true though. Whenever you're in an airport, you see there's a bit of. Well, is it just me? You think really? Does that fly?
Well, they say
even now.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway.
So between 8.5 past, obviously the timing will be a little bit dependent. We will see. 8:35. Okay, so it's around that time. We will watch what unfolds.
Won't we? How exciting! Right now, the news, travel, and the weather, wherever you are. So later this morning, British Airways will fly its final two Boeing 747s from London Heathrow into retirement. And right now, we can see how those final preparations are going. Let's take this. And this is the moment, the last moment. Pushback.
It's begun, guys.
Tom Burridge is there.
It's begun.
Tom Burridge.
I'm here.
Okay, tell us what's happening, Tom.
Morning, Louise. Sorry. Yeah, it's great. Look, that's the first plane pushing back now. When we say push back, the main engines aren't on. That vehicle at the front is literally pushing the plane back. You've got an auxiliary power unit, so all the electrics on the plane are up and running. So you've got the classic livery on the 747, the original jumbo jet, in the back of your shot. You can see the small A on Airways. Apparently, I'm told that was to make the branding less pompous, and then you've got the actual branding from nowadays on the first plane here. If Paul can actually spin off those planes just for 1 second, you could probably see a lot of BA staff in their fluorescent jackets down by the hangar there. They've all come out to witness this moment of history because this is really a poignant moment. These planes have flown in the BA fleet, 57 of them at the peak, for a very, very long time. They launched first back in 1989, this particular model, but the 747 itself, that plane, the original version goes back to 1969, and it's a colossus of a plane. Look at the tail, that is level with a 6-story building. You can have about 400 passengers on board. From the nose, the tip of the plane right back to the end is about 71 meters. And the pilots on board, there's 3 pilots on each plane. They will now start very soon to taxi these 2 planes out down this area, which is called an apron, adjacent to the hangar here. And they will move quite slowly up this area, and they will go behind us effectively down towards the airfield, which is only about 30 meters or so away. We're airside here this morning, and it is a real privilege. The pilots are really feeling the emotions this morning. There's a massive buzz around the hangar at this precise moment in time because it is the end of an era, and really people are feeling sad. These planes, because of the pandemic, are going into retirement. 1 in South Wales, 1 in Gloucestershire, 4 years early.
Tom, it is a magnificent sight. And just quickly, take us through the timings now. We've got hopefully a synchronized takeoff, is that right?
Yeah, so they'll basically sit here for a period of time, Charlie, and they will at some point start taxiing down towards the airfield. And then we are expecting the 2 planes to do a departure at exactly the same time. 1 off the south runway, 1 off the north runway here at Heathrow at 8:35. They are monitoring the weather minute by minute, but everything, according to the operations team here at British Airways, is looking good. And it's not just about the weather here, it's really about the weather in South Gloucestershire and in South Wales, because they're smaller airfields. You've got to get these giant aircraft in good conditions. So it's going to be a great moment. Tune in, 8:35.
Tom, I've never seen you so excited about anything, and it's totally infectious. Thank you very much indeed. You talked about the weather. We've got exactly what you need, actually, haven't we? I didn't know I'd be able to ever say this on BBC Breakfast. The British Airways 2 747s that are being retired today are cleared for takeoff. I did see them in the last few moments or so. They are taxiing towards the runway, Charlie. Both of them on the way. I can see them. Can you see them in the distance there? No.
Yeah, it's a slightly drizzly and rather grim conditions this morning. But of course, they're being retired. The last 2 of their Boeing 747s will be removed from the flying fleet. It is really the end of an era for such an extraordinary aircraft.
Yep, and they have been cleared for takeoff. It's due to happen at 8:35, and this is going to be the first time the 2 planes take off simultaneously from both the north and the south runway at Heathrow.
They are.
And we're going to see it.
Yeah, they're only flying locally. So I mean,
I think
they're going to Gloucester and 1 to Cardiff. So very short journeys. You just see them moving a little bit. We are on time, I believe, for our takeoff in about 6 or 7 minutes. So we'll be back with them to watch that happen.
Yeah, right now though. Before that, let's get the news, the travel, and the weather wherever you're watching. Morning, welcome back. You're watching Breakfast with Charlie State and Louise Minchin.
Time now is 8:31. As we heard a little earlier, British Airways is about to fly its last 2 Boeing 747s from London Heathrow into retirement. 2 airfields, South Wales and Gloucestershire.
Here's our transport correspondent, Tom Burridge, who is there for us to take us through it all. Morning.
Morning guys, the operation is in full swing now. Look at that beauty. The first 747 has already taxied down to the south runway. Shortly, hopefully, fingers crossed, that one is going to start moving. You can hear the engines cranking up for this moment of history. They are monitoring the weather minute by minute, and it's crucial that the visibility in South Wales and Gloucestershire, where these 2 magnificent planes will end up, is decent enough to get them in because they're so big. These are amazing aircraft. They've been with us for decades, and this really is a moment of history. Well, there she goes. The second of the 747s is going to go out down towards the airfield here at Heathrow. You can see she's going to taxi to the right to the north runway, and then she will head out westwards towards the west. One going to Gloucestershire, one going to Campbell. The other plane is actually sort of down that direction, just out of shot. But beyond all these stuff, you can see a lot of people have come out for this really great moment. I mean, they're just magnificent aircraft. Look at the engines there getting ready. And then the two planes might do a simultaneous takeoff, but it's touch and go. It's been changing by the second, really, whether that's possible because of the weather. It's not an easy thing to do here at a live airfield. You've got to remember that Heathrow, yes, the pandemic's meant that there's less traffic here, but it's really still operating, and it's an incredible operation that they're doing here to bring these two planes at a precise time. We can really see that great image of the planes moving towards their final flight, and let's bring in a couple of people who know all about these aircraft. Ralph Thomas is an engineer, very experienced at looking under the bonnet, so to speak, of these planes. What is your favourite thing about them? Why are they so special?
They're really special. They're an iconic aeroplane. They've been with BA for at least, well, half of its existence, really. So we celebrated our centenary last year, and we've had the Jumbos with us for 50 years. So it's a big part of our history. Lots of fond memories for everybody, and it's a sad day to see them go. It really is.
How long does it take to service one of those planes? How many people? Give us a sense.
It depends on the type of servicing, but it could be anywhere between 24, 48 hours, 40 people per aircraft. It's big work. It's a big aeroplane. There's lots of people. It takes a long time.
Well, someone wiping away. Are they tears, Julie? I don't know whether they're tears or they're raindrops, but Julie worked as cabin crew for years on board these planes. You've been with BA for decades. What does it mean to you personally at this moment? They're really about to leave Heathrow for the last time.
It's incredibly emotional, a mix of emotions, I think. You know, so proud to have worked on them. They're absolutely majestic and recognisable around the world. So it's just an extremely emotional moment for me, to be honest with you.
What are your fond memories? What are the things that come to mind? What do people say when they got on board to see that double deck, the glamour?
They used to say there's stairs, there's an upper deck, and it's like a lounge. It's so big. You know, it was just a magnificent aircraft to work on. I've loved every minute of my career here at British Airways. Working on the 747 is one of my highlights, genuinely.
Okay, we can see the plane which has that classic livery from the sort of 70s, 80s, Charlie and Louise. That's now turning. Look at her. Brilliant. The tail of that plane is level with a 6-storey building. It's incredible. 400 passengers, but it's empty today apart from the 3 pilots. And soon
Tom,
they'll head off.
Tom, I think the image we can see is the one above you, slightly above you, I think, looking down. And we can see clearly, I think the two aircraft, one sort of to the foreground, one a little further back. How does this simultaneous takeoff happen?
Well, I'm still not 100%, if I'm honest, if that simultaneous takeoff is actually going to happen or whether one will head out first. No, I'm getting a, you know, it's off. No, so the simultaneous takeoff, sadly, because of the weather, cannot happen. I don't think the visibility really is just good enough for them to do that because, as I said earlier, it's a really complicated task. This is a live airfield. You know, there are flights going out to destinations just before and just after, and therefore they can't get the two planes out at the same time. So they'll both depart now from the north runway over there, and they will head off, that's westwards, one going to Kemble in Gloucestershire and the other to South Wales, St Athan.
And we can get a real sense, Tom, we can see people there in the foreground, all in their high-vis jackets. You know, this is a sort of emotional moment for some people, isn't it?
Yeah, real emotion. There's a massive buzz here airside. You know, it's a real privilege to be here. They are fantastic planes. You know, I'm probably getting a bit too excited about that, but, you know, you have to go on board, you have to feel, you know, how ginormous they are up close. I mean, those engines themselves, Ralph, I think, was telling us they weigh 7 tons a pop.
6 to 7 tons, yeah.
Yeah, 6 or 7 tons each single engine. There's 4 of them, remember. The wheels came up to me like this earlier in the programme. You can hear them cranking up, and as you say, Louise, look at all the staff. You know, British Airways, they say they are a family. It's a giant company. And yes, they've had some really tough times, but now, there we go. It's off. The first plane. The visibility isn't great, I have to say. but here it comes, and it's coming towards our other airside camera, so we're covering this in lots of different angles for you this morning because it is a great moment. There she goes, down the runway. Fantastic. Julie, we're going to bring you in cabin crew. Come on, how are you feeling?
Oh, so tearful, sorry, it's just so emotional.
Go on, it's fair enough. You said to us the other day, you feel attached to this hunk of... there she goes up in the air.
Amazing, really, really sad to see her go, but just such a shame about the weather, but amazing, absolutely incredible. Sorry.
That's great, you are wiping away the tears this morning, you're wiping the tears away, as well as the rain, of course, this morning. But there she goes, the first plane, the first 747 of two, and the second one is now heading off as well. It is steaming down the runway, can probably show you that in a second. There's Julie waving, great. Lovely moment, Julie. How are you feeling?
Really emotional. Sorry, I know I keep saying the same thing, but I'm a bit choked and lost for words at the moment because I was really lucky to be the last cabin crew member to walk on her the other day, and I'm really honoured and privileged to have had that opportunity. So.
You met royalty, you entertain royalty, stars on board for decades.
Yes, I have. Very, very privileged.
There goes the next one up in the air. Brilliant. I have to say, through the clouds, you guys at home have got a much better view than us, because down here through the clouds it isn't great weather, but she looks magnificent. The last 747-400 of the BA fleet to depart from here at London Heathrow, the headquarters of British Airways, of course, and all the staff are out, and there is a lot of emotion, guys. I mean, I know these are just planes, but you know, it's been difficult during the pandemic. You talk to anyone in aviation from any airline, any airport, and they've really, really suffered. People have lost their jobs, they're losing their jobs. The airlines are really struggling, and this is a nostalgic moment. It is a moment to celebrate in amongst all that doom and gloom, and really celebrate these planes and their history.
Yeah, Tom, I mean, we did get a very good view, didn't we?
We got the best view, Tom.
Disappearing into the clouds. I mean, it's not perfect conditions at all.
I was jealous. I got my iPad at least.
Yeah, we did get a good view. And as you say, I mean, the decision about retiring these planes dates back some time and predates the pandemic, of course. But there is a certain symbolism, of course, because of the problems the industry more widely is facing.
Yeah, really, very much so. I mean, you know, we had news of more job losses at the Manchester Airports Group yesterday. It's happening here at Heathrow, it's happening at BA. That's the sort of doom and gloom, and it is a very difficult time. But these planes are so magnificent. They've been going for so long. It was such a groundbreaking moment. They were brought in 1969, the original version, 1989 when they joined the BA fleet, this latest version. And everyone is really gutted to see them go this morning.
Oh, gosh, Tom, thank you so much for bringing us that live here on BBC Breakfast. I'm going to let you get in from the rain.
Speedboat 747, ready for departure.
I'm Al Bridger. I'm the Director of Flight Operations. I'm also a 747 captain. So today, it's an emotional, special day. So we couldn't just see the 747s disappear. So we'll be taking the last two aircraft out today, and then we'll be flying back round and then doing a final goodbye fly through of the airfield.
I think they'll remember her as being good looking, elegant, and a real friend. I mean, over the years, there were 57 of the 400s here. Over the years, they've been an integral part of the BA family. And I think this week, there'll be some sadness when the last two go off.
I think the reason I love the 747 so much is it's the one aircraft that I always wanted to fly on as crew. It gets you in your heart. Whenever I see her anywhere, I just get that flutter, and I always think to myself, I'm so proud that I worked on a British Airways 747.
Speedboat 747, thank you. Behind the departing company 747, line up runway 27 right behind.
Behind departing company 747, line up 27 right behind, Speedboat 747.
Runway 27 right, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, runway 27 right, Speedboat 747.
Speedboat 747, clear for a low approach and go around, not below height 500 feet. After go around, climb straight ahead to altitude 6,000 feet.
Thanks so much for all your help guiding us over the years. It's been an absolute pleasure to fly the Queen of the Skies, and thank you for helping us commemorate her departure today. That's a final farewell from British Airways. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
There were tears and plenty of rain this morning as British Airways said farewell to the Queen of the Skies. Its last two Heathrow-based Boeing 747s made their final flights from the airport. The jumbo jets, which have been flying for 50 years, are being withdrawn from service earlier than planned because of the huge drop in demand for air travel. Our transport correspondent Tom Burridge was at Heathrow for the final flights.
The Queen of the Skies on a final departure. It was over and out for the British Airways 747 era.
Julie, we're going to bring you in cabin crew. Come on, how are you feeling?
Oh, so tearful, sorry. It's really, really sad to see her go, but just such a shame about the weather, but amazing, absolutely incredible. Sorry.
A glamour glider through the decades. The original version launched in the 60s and defied all the odds.
No need to go to a gym either.
Julie welcomed A-listers and royalty on board.
The stretched upper deck is new to BA.
In its day, the double deck was novel.
It's like a private jet up here.
It's still pretty cool today.
I know somebody whose grandma boarded a 747 and thought she was still in the departure lounge because it was just so big. She didn't realise, and she kept saying, "When are we boarding?"
The dress code changed, the food got better, but there were millions of miles and millions of 747 memories.
I think everyone knows the Jumbo. You know, it was born out of the moon landing age 50 years ago, and it's been with us ever since. You can recognise it. You just see it when you get to the airport. It stands out. It's iconic, and customers, colleagues, everyone who's had anything to do with the Jumbo, they just love it.
Captain Al then at the controls as the last pair taxied out one last time. Rain and tears. A short trip to South Wales for one, the other to Gloucestershire. A fond goodbye. Tom Burridge, BBC News at Heathrow.